Coming up on tonight's broadcast, a look at student aid, increase in Greek life membership, and issues concerning the birth control pill. All that and more right here on the Beaver News.
Good evening and welcome to your Thursday night edition of the Beaver News. We're glad to have you with us. I'm Brittany Mangold.
And I'm Hayden Wilcox. More about it. Here at Oregon State, the university is more than accommodating when it comes to providing support to its students in the form of financial aid. A recent poll shows that around 65% of all students here on campus are supported by some form of financial aid. As reported by Anna Benevidita of the Daily Barometer, approximately 90% of all student aid is distributed by the beginning of each term. Additional funds are dispersed by the middle of the first week, but for some students, the aid could arrive a little sooner. Grace Garnas, a sophomore in food sciences here at Oregon State University, explains that because of the program she is on, she doesn't receive financial aid until midway through the term, making purchasing the right books nearly impossible. Quote, "There are only so many used books at the Beaver store, so by the time I get my money, all the used books are gone," end quote. With the increasing number of students at the university each year, the financial department finds itself under quite a bit of stress, keeping track of individual accounts and student-related grades. For those struggling with getting those books for the quarter, help has arrived in the form of short-term cashier loans that can be used for purchasing books. But Grace is still worried about what this help could mean in the long term. Quote, "I feel like I shouldn't have to worry about paying either for my books or rent. The short-term loan program is a good idea, but on top of the loans I already have, it can be overwhelming."
Almost 2 weeks have passed since Oregon State University closed campus due to possible dangers of traveling through flooded areas. As reported by Amanda Antella of the Daily Barometer, the danger of the flood persists in local well water. Unlike the water from the city, which receives treatment and undergoes extensive testing, well water does not receive the same maintenance. OSU Extension Service is worried about well water becoming infected with nitrates and the coliform bacteria such as E. coli. Confirmed tests show some wells have been infected with a small amount of nitrates that could be dangerous to children. Chrissy Lucas, the program assistant of small farms and groundwater education, warns, quote, "Water is very easily contaminated. After a flood like this, soil, dirt, debris, and some kind of feces will end up washing into the well, in which case you have to treat the water," end quote. Those who have well water are encouraged to have the water tested. Contact OSU Extension Service for more information regarding instruction on how to test water and treat it.
Exciting news from NASA this week has to do with one of our own professors right here at the university. Mark Fisk, professor in the College of Earth, Ocean, and Atmospheric Sciences, along with 28 other scientists from around the United States, have been chosen to help lead a research project on Mars. Fisk was chosen by NASA to help guide their newest Mars rover, Curiosity, as it searches for sites on Mars which could have been conducive for producing life. Fisk explains, quote, "One goal is to identify key samples of rock and soil and identify those areas that might represent habitable environments so that a future mission can select the right rocks to be returned to Earth," end quote. As reported by the university, Professor Fisk was a part of a research team in 1998 that discovered rock-eating microbes 1 mile beneath the ocean floor. 5 years ago, Fisk began showing an intense interest in Mars when he started studying samples of meteorites of Martian origins, the largest of which, nicknamed Nakala, was found in Egypt in 1911 and weighs over 20 pounds. The rover was launched in November of last year and is expected to land on the surface of Mars in August.
Student enrollment at OSU has increased, and so has the number of members participating in Greek life. Martin Ford of the Daily Barometer reports, OSU Greek life has expanded past 2,800 student members, a reflection of the overall growing student population on campus. Bob Kerr, coordinator of Greek life at OSU, attributes this recent growth to several factors. Quote, "Students are looking for academic support and a place to make a big university feel smaller and more inviting," end quote. One noteworthy change in the Greek community is the methods of marketing itself towards incoming students. Many students recall the memorable G campaign during Connect Week when Greek members wore t-shirts with a large G on the front. The mystery behind the shirts encouraged new students to talk to one another and spread awareness of the Rush Week. The curiosity regarding the shirts created awareness of Greek life early in the year, which contributed to the 30% increase in recruitment. With OSU attempting to expand to 30,000 students, one can only expect that the Greek system will continue its progression. To accommodate the current growth, Kate Burr, president of the Panhellenic Council, declares, quote, "The Panhellenic Council recently approved the addition of 2 more chapters to our campus in the upcoming years."
A former OSU graduate is looking to raise between $25,000 and $50,000 to produce a new film centering on a character with multiple personalities. Gwen Shaw of the Daily Barometer reports that Blake Heiss is currently finishing up his last semester in the Master of Fine Arts film program at Chapman, and for his thesis project, he will be producing a film titled Split. Of his film, Heiss said, quote, "Sam Hapley is a regular guy, or at least he would be if not for a split personality problem. After getting in some hot financial water with the wrong people, Sam figures he's got no choice but to attempt a small bank robbery with the help of his other personalities, only to find that they make the worst partners in crime imaginable," end quote. Heiss is currently fundraising for this project through the website Indiegogo.com and plans to bring filming next month.
2 years ago, the collective student body at Oregon State voted in favor of 2 construction projects, reconstructing the Memorial Union and building the Student Experience Center. The Daily Barometer editorial sheds light on the issue that, despite the majority of the student population who voted in favor of these 2 buildings, the state capitol might refute the bonds for the projects. President Ed Ray expressed his admiration for the students who did vote in favor for the university to invest current tuition fees into buildings that would not even benefit the students who voted for them. The legislature has a 30-day period to discuss the bonds, then create a bill and vote. Student representatives urge students that if they do not make their concerns known in Salem, the legislature will stop caring about the student opinion. At a town hall meeting, only 28 people were present, most of which were ASOSU senators and representatives of the House. Director of OSU Government Relations, Jock Mills, suggested students should express their views on the issue through speaking with the ASOSU president to ensure that the student voice is heard. And we are heading into our first short break, but don't go anywhere because when we return, we have a sports update and a look at your local forecast. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Beaver News right here on KBVR. Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta announced yesterday that the United States and NATO will end all combat missions in Afghanistan by 2013, saying, quote, "Hopefully by mid to the later part of 2013, we'll be able to make a transition from a combat role to a training, advice, and assist role," end quote. CNN is reporting that Afghan security forces are now above 300,000, are expected to grow above 350,000 in the next year. The United States will continue to withdraw troops by a total of only 68,000 by the end of 2012, from over 100,000 after a 33,000 troop surge last year.
Haley Barbour, former governor of Mississippi, is receiving criticism for what many are calling an abuse of power. As reported by CNN, Haley Barbour issued full pardons to over 200 people who were convicted in court for a variety of crimes. Four murderers serving life sentences are among the 200 inmates receiving a full pardon, meaning their entire record will be wiped clean. This decision evoked harsh criticism from the public as well as many public officials. Attorney General Jim Hood announced that Barbour's pardons are, quote, "a slap in the face to anyone in law enforcement, and Governor Barbour should be ashamed," end quote. Attorney General Hood is questioning the pardons for failure to meet the publication requirements of the Mississippi Constitution, asserting that many of the inmates Barbour pardoned are from influential families or had connection to the Republican Party. Governor Barbour defends his decision to pardon the 4 inmates convicted of murder due to his belief that men who commit crimes of passion are the least likely to reoffend. David Gatlin is one of those pardoned murderers who was found guilty of walking into the home of his estranged wife and shooting her in the head as she held her 6-year-old child, then shooting his wife's friend, Randy Walker, who survived the gunshot to his head. Hood argues that this was not a crime of passion and it would be dangerous to release individuals such as David Gatlin into society. Hood filed a bid to request an overturn of these pardons, and the state Supreme Court scheduled a hearing for February 9th.
Following shooting at least 7 sea lions in Washington state waters, the environmental group Sea Shepherd Conservation Society has offered a $10,000 reward for information that leads to a conviction of those responsible. Officials announced yesterday that 6 protected California sea lions, an endangered Steller sea lion, and a harbor seal have been found dead since December 1st. Though no arrests have been made yet, CNN is reporting that the fine for shooting a sea lion could be as much as $20,000.
Women taking the brand Pfizer prescription birth control pills could now face unwanted pregnancies due to the company's packaging error. CNN reports the company Pfizer is recalling the birth control marketed under the Acromax RX product name with the expiration dates between July 31st, 2013 and March 31st, 2014. Women who are taking these recalled pills are urged to consult with a healthcare provider to begin another birth control method. Pfizer announced in a written statement, quote, "Upon discovery of this issue, we took corrective action and notified the FDA. Based on our own rigorous internal assessments of this problem, we believe there are approximately 30 packs of birth control pills that may have received an inexact count or an inactive tablets," end quote. The recall is issued for 1 million packs of birth control to ensure that no women are at risk for unwanted pregnancies as a result of the company's mix-up. The pills are not harmful to one's health, but the placebo pills are supposed to be taken during an infertile time of the month, and now they are mixed in throughout the month during times when women are fertile, making the birth control ineffective. If you are unsure whether your birth control is included in the recall, Pfizer has released a complete list of the recalled pills' lot number on their website.
Good evening, Corvallis. Tonight I have your 5-day forecast. Tonight, expect to see some clear skies with a low of 32 degrees. On Friday, we have some bright sunny skies with a high of 54 and a low of 30 degrees at night. On Saturday, even more sun with a high of 52 and a low of 30 degrees at night. On Sunday, we're back to some cloud cover with a high of 54 degrees and a low of 30 degrees in the evening. Finally, Monday, we're back to more sunshine with a high of 54 and a low of 36 degrees in the evening. That's all the weather we have for you tonight. Have a great weekend, and back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Courtney. With just 2 days left before the Nevada primary, Donald Trump, who has been suggesting that he might enter the presidential race as an independent, will officially endorse Mitt Romney. CNN reports that even with Trump's celebrity, it is unlikely that the endorsement will make any difference in the campaign after a Pew study reported that 64% of definite and likely GOP voters said an endorsement from a reality television star would make no difference to them, with 13% saying that it would make them more likely to back a candidate and 20% said that it would actually make them less likely. Romney is currently the frontrunner after winning all 50 delegates in the recent Florida primary, with 46% of the vote. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich came in second in Florida with 32%.
The shore of Cape Cod resembles a horrific scene as more deceased dolphins continue to wash upon the beaches. CNN reports 81 dead dolphins have washed upon the shore since the beginning of January. Dolphin strandings on Cape Cod are not uncommon, with an average of 120 dolphin strandings each year. However, the director for the Internal Fund for Animal Welfare calls the recent number of dolphins disturbing. Michael Flanagan, the Wellfleet Harbor Master, claims, quote, "It's not clear what prompted the deaths, but recent changes in water temperature could be a contributing factor. Usually in the winter, the harbor ices over and inhibits the animals from coming closer to the shore. Now that the water is warmer, we're seeing lots of dolphins washing up than ever before," end quote. Dolphins that are alive on the shore are being tagged by scientists, then transported by trailers to be released off an outer Cape Cod coast. The region has not experienced this kind of incident in over a decade. It is now time for our final break of the evening, but we will have a look at more of your national and international stories in just a minute.
Welcome back to the Beaver News right here on Channel 26. The United Nations announced yesterday that an International Atomic Energy Agency team will be returning to Iran at the end of the month, following a 3-day visit this week that both sides acknowledged as positive. CNN is reporting that the 6-member delegation arrived in Tehran shortly after the European Union imposed new sanctions on Iran's aimed at cutting off funding to the Islamic Republic's nuclear program. Though Iran is denying the accusation, many Western nations believe that the Middle Eastern country is trying to develop nuclear weapons. Of the scheduled visit, IAEA Director General Yukiya Amano said, "We are not very sure whether Iran has declared everything, and therefore we are not very sure that everything stays in peaceful purpose. In addition, we have information that Iran has engaged in activities related to the development of nuclear weapons. Therefore, we need to clarify."
Valentine's Day is around the corner, meaning that it is time to give your significant other hints as to what your favorite candy is. As American couples decide what delicious treats to exchange this month, the classic candy Kit Kats are selling big in Japan. CNN reports that curiosity surrounding the huge sales of Kit Kats in Japan is not a mystery, just a lucky coincidence for the Nestle brand. Nestle company has amazing fortune since the name Kit Kat sounds similar to the Japanese phrase Kito Katsu, which translates to mean surely win. In Japan, the phrase Kito Katsu is exchanged before students take exams. For those of you who have a sweetheart with an upcoming exam, cheer him or her up with a chocolate candy that declares they will surely win.
Authorities in Canada arrested 60 individuals today in a connection with a child pornography bust in Ontario. CNN reports that at least 22 children have been identified and the victims are now in care and receiving medical and trauma assessments. Of those charges facing those arrested, the Deputy Sergeant Frank Goldschmidt of the Ontario Provincial Police said, quote, "Charges included sexual assault, children luring, possession of child pornography, making available child pornography, distribution of child pornography, and accessing child pornography," end quote. In total, the 60 individuals face a total of 213 charges, making it one of the largest child pornography busts in Canada. In addition to the arrest, police said that they also confiscated large amounts of money, drugs, and weapons while carrying out search warrants.
CNN reports that anger has once again erupted in Egypt, this time over the death of 79 people who died in a soccer riot. A deputy of the Muslim Brotherhood's Freedom and Justice Party demanded the resignation of the interior minister, holding him responsible for the loss of the 79 lives. Another deputy accused security guards of allowing fans to bring weapons into the stadium. The riot occurred after the referee blew the whistle of Wednesday's match, and Port said the score was Al Mazri 3 and Al Ahly 1. Thousands of Al Mazri fans stormed the field while the rival fans attacked one another with rocks and chairs. Many of those who died fell from bleachers inside the stadium, according to Ahmed As-Sahid, an official from the Port said governor's office. Horrified fans questioned why police did not stop the Al Mazri fans from rushing the visitor stands, why the fans had weapons, and why the exits were closed. Members of the Al Ahly governing board suspect this was a well-organized attack, but they cannot confirm who was behind it. A committee is currently investigating the circumstances that caused the deadly riot.
Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, who has been under house arrest in Great Britain for the past year, appeared at a United Kingdom Supreme Court yesterday to contest his extradition to Sweden. CNN reports the extradition request is not related to WikiLeaks, but instead to allegations that he sexually assaulted 2 women in 2010. The prosecution presented their case today, though a decision is not expected for several weeks. Attorneys for Assange said that they will take the case all the way up to the European Court of Human Rights if they have to. Even though he is unable to leave the country and has an electronic monitoring bracelet tracking his movements, Assange is said to voice a character on the upcoming episode of The Simpsons.
So temperatures are heating up across the United States, but Eastern Europe is experiencing a deep freeze responsible for the killing 63 people in Ukraine. Reported by CNN, Ukraine's capital plunged to negative 14 degrees Fahrenheit overnight, the lowest record temperature in decades. Ukraine's government has set up more than 2,000 heated tents, offering warmth and drinks to those in need. Poland and Serbia are also hit by the negative temperatures, resulting in 40 reported deaths in Poland. A majority of those deceased are homeless people who did not have sufficient shelter. Farther west, Italy received unusual snowfall amounting to 5 inches, a rare amount for the region. Unfortunately, the cold front is not expected to warm up for most of the continental Europe until next week. And now we go to Courtney Becker for local sports.
Oregon State takes its 3-game winning streak in its initial Pac-12 trek to Boulder to play the Colorado Buffaloes tonight at the Coors Event Center. Oregon State and Colorado will meet for the 9th time in history, with the Buffs holding a 6-2 advantage, including a 5-0 mark in games played in Boulder. The Beavers have won 3 consecutive conference games for the first time in 3 years, snapping a 13-game conference road losing streak over the last week's win in Oregon. Tonight's game will not be televised, but will air at 6 p.m. on Beaver Sports Radio Network with Mike Parker calling the action. Oregon State's women basketball hosts the inaugural Pac-10-12 contest against the Colorado Buffaloes tonight at 7 p.m. The Beavers, 13-7, overall 4-5 in conference play, are coming off Civil War against the Ducks. A win tonight would move the Beavers into a tie for 6th place in the Pac-12. Colorado was the only team to enter the conference play and undefeated, has since lost 2 teams that Oregon State has defeated, Washington and Arizona State. Oregon State is 0-2 all-time against Colorado. The 2 teams haven't met since the 1999-2000 season. Free live video will be available for tonight's game through OSUBeavers.com and will be broadcasted in the Corvallis area on 990 KTHH AM and the Portland area on 1515 KKOV AM. The Beavers finish off the week at home hosting Utah on Saturday at 2 p.m. Following the game, 2 student athletes from every Oregon State women's sport will be signing autographs for National Girls and Women's in Sports Day. The number 8 Oregon State gymnastics team is on the road this week to travel to number 21 Washington tomorrow, February 3rd at 7 p.m. at the Bank of America Arena. Oregon State hold the series lead 93-25 and has won its last 7 meetings against the Huskies. Senior all-arounder Leslie Mack is ranked number 1 in the nation on the beam for the 2nd straight week. It is not an uncomfortable spot, nor an unusual one for Mack, who was ranked at number 1 for 4 weeks in 2011. Thus far, in 2012, Mack has won the beam title in all 3 meets and is yet to score below a 9.98875. Oregon State remains on the road next week with the Beavers' only scheduled trip to the state of California this season. The Beavers will participate in a 3-team meet at UC Davis, along with Sacramento State, Friday, February 10th. Finally, a look at NBA with the Portland Trail Blazers. Gerald Wallace and the Blazers hosted the Charlotte Bobcats last night in the first meeting between Wallace and his former team since the Blazers traded him last March. Sports Illustrated reports that the Blazers outscored the Bobcats 35-18 in the first quarter and never looked back as Charlotte lost their 10th straight game and Portland improved 13-9 overall with a 112-68 win. Wallace notched just his 2nd double-double of the season, scoring 23 points and 10 rebounds while adding 3 steals and a block. Jamal Crawford led all Blazers in scoring with 24 points off the bench, shooting 9-14 from the field and connecting on 4 of his 6 3-point attempts.